Well, today on Ask the Druids, I have Laurin with me, who is a really fun practitioner of different modalities. She also has a really cool podcast, and I think everyone should listen to just about spirituality and more concepts that are out there. So, Laurin, do you want to introduce yourself and kind of why you're here and what you do? I know I didn't do you justice in that.
You did plenty of justice. Thank you so much for having me, Catherine. I'm just an ordinary girl with a message, basically, that connects to giants. My name is Laurin Mariani, and I am the founder of laurinmariani.com. I birthed a program, Soul DNA. And I say birthed a program like we just pushed out a baby. It really was that difficult and painful. But yeah, we've done that, and I now run various channels and programs to help inspire others to connect them deeper to their purpose and to connect them to their soul. That's, I guess, the biggest message of all, is just to get people to understand that there's so much more to a physical DNA than we anticipate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, I know I was part of your podcast, which really had some really cool information. So I tell anyone to definitely go take a look at your site, your podcast, and really kind of jump in on that a little bit more and understand it more. So
Definitely. It's so deep.
yeah, it does. Yeah. And you never know where it's gonna go, which is the fun part. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So what the topic today you had said was giants, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit why you chose that topic. Why did it come to you?
So, as a kid, I struggled to differentiate between my reality and the reality that actually existed. I didn't know that they were two separate realities. So, I remember as a kid being amongst giants was a very real experience for me. They were no different to you or I sitting here. If I was in the garden, I could play with them. If I was in the house, I could see them, although they were never in the house. And so for me, there was a scale issue, the sizing difference and whatever. And often I would say to my mum, mind, like you nearly stood under a giant's foot. And I grew up in a super Christian home. And so that had its own set of trials and tribulations. Giants are not part of Christianity. And so that in itself was a massive issue. And eventually I just found it was the saddest day. I was probably about 4 years old. And I said goodbye to the closest giant actually that I was friends with, because it was too hard to try. I couldn't understand. And I started thinking I was going crazy actually, because why could no one else see them?
Right.
So I couldn't understand that. I kept trying to tell my friends, I'd introduce my friends, and they'd look at me like I was crazy. And I knew I wasn't crazy, but it was a very painful experience to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Then I fast forward, I've always felt my giants. I never saw them after that. I felt their presence, and they were never far from me. Here in Zimbabwe, we have incredible places where there's such deep spiritual connection or energy, and I would always feel their presence there. And I could almost see their footprints or where their beds were or what have you. And so fast forward 30 odd years, I went down to one of the next bigger cities here in Zimbabwe, and I went to go and practice down there for a little bit. And as I walked into the garden, I felt them really strongly. And I remember sitting in the garden, and all 13 of them came. And the last, I get so emotional just talking about it. The last one that came in was my best friend when I was a kid. And I remember just that whole overwhelming feeling that I wasn't crazy,
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't, he was there with me all along. And it was just like there was nothing, there was so much to say and yet nothing to say because they never left. It was just me that had to turn it all off. And there's been so many moments in my life where I have received a channeling or a download or bits of information and found it very difficult to understand whether that's me or them, that, where did this information come from? It's beyond my human understanding. Is it theirs? Is it not theirs? Where did it come in from?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool that you kind of saw them. I know we talk about people or kids that have their invisible friends or that, see stuff or that they can see the other side, and that you had this group of giants then that came back to join you again.
It was insane. Honestly, it takes every bit of strength not to break down. Every time I talk about it, it still has the same emotion for me and the same. I remember I came back and I'd kind of told my husband and my kids that I had seen giants as a kid, but you kind of leave it there because you have no proof. When I came back, I was honestly, it took me weeks actually to pull myself together to be able to tell the full story and say, and then my baby giant came back and he was there. And it was like so overwhelming that I guess within Christianity, you speak about faith of things unseen. And so you question yourself for so many years because I couldn't see them anymore. I could feel them, but was it my imagination? Was it not my imagination? And this backwards and forwards of two realities, but you know that they're real.
Yeah,
And but nobody else knows that, right?
right. Yeah.
And
I love
it's not
that.
until there's the emotion that comes through where it's undeniable, like you couldn't make up that emotion. You
Right.
know, it's when you talk about it with other people, or I spoke about it with friends, and just the tears and so many things since then. I travel down as much as I can just to go, and I see them here and I see them where I live, but there was a different connection. It was like I went home.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
I feel like they're part of your soul family. Like that's what I'm picking up as we're sitting here
Oh
talking
wow.
that
I'm
they're
gonna take notes.
yeah, definitely soul family, past life, all of that. And I know the Druids can give you a lot more information, but that's just what I'm
Yeah.
picking up now. So very cool. Well, I hope we can give you some more insight on it, and that anyone who is watching or listening can also pick up some insight on it too if they connect with giants and then connect with you as well. So
Yeah, I would love that. I get so many people asking me about it, but I've never met anybody that connects with giants. So that would be amazing if you're listening, if you could connect. I'd love to know, are they the same clan? Are they different clans? Like, how does it work?
yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. Are you ready to get started then and get some of your questions
Yes, definitely.
answered? Okay. As you speak of so many other different things, you have to understand that there are realms, dimensions, and so many more beings than what most people understand and can grasp. So, yes, when you think of those that else are out there, you have the nymphs, the giants, the fairies, the gnomes, the humans, the extraterrestrials, all of these other beings that are out there to assist someone on a planet. And as you are coming into all of this, as you are having an understanding of what has been and what will be, it is also about knowing that when you assimilate with another soul family, when you know that that is your heritage, that is where you come from, that allows for that knowingness and that openness to come. But it's also about coming in and experience lifetimes in different ways. So, yes, you have come into this plane as a human, as so many others have that come from other aspects. So, although you come from more of that giant aspect, there are those that come from the fairies, from the nymphs, from the Palladians, from the Octurans, from all of these different energy sources that are out there, which you could assume call races in a way. But it is about understanding that every soul comes from source. So, it is just kind of where you've spent your lifetimes that made you assimilate within those energies or within those places. So know that when people have the ability to reconnect with something else, when they can see things, when they know that they're there, when they have those beliefs, there is truly a reason for that. And that reason is that understanding that as you are coming into this, as you are allowing for this information to flow, it is also about letting things pass you by that are signs that you can also pick up on in a different way. So you had to bring into the giants. You brought them in when you were a child, but understood that there are those that wouldn't understand it. There's also parts of the earth in the dimensions where they are more easily able to come in as their energy and vibration also can match with those places on the planet. And so as they come in and as you accept them, and then as they go and as they come, is about understanding that there's more to the earth than what meets the human eye. where we talk much of the time truly about being a human on Earth and how it is one of the harder planets, but how the growth here can be so grand and can be so great. But there has been so much shelter put on others to ensure that no one can see or understand or connect with what is there, because they want you to live within this bubble of being pushed down. But as the vibration of the earth is raising, as it's increasing, as the dimension is changing, as the densities are also changing, it also affects all of the beings that are on the planet Earth. And so that is why you're noticing that more of this is coming through. It is why you're able to speak more about it and more now, talk more about it, because as the earth is raising, all of these other dimensional beings are able to more fully flow into the planet now and be seen by humans as their vibration and energy is a little more in alignment. Does that make sense to you?
It definitely does.
Any questions on what we've spoken of this far?
When you talk about the information that has been passed down between a soul family, is that where my downloads and channelings come from?
So in a way, yes. So when you think about a soul family and how it works, you can compare it kind of how a physical family, a human family works. So the DNA and the energies are passed down along through that. And so some of it is skills and things that you have picked up from your soul family. But in a way that a physical family has, the grandfather, the son, the person, the grand, like there's this lineage going down. When a soul family, it's all coming from the same place. So it's all coming out of this same almost energetic core that creates this family that works together many times. So you'll find soul families tend to come in together and leave together. But there are those times where you will say, you know what, I'm going to go and assist this soul family with something because I will go in and I will assist them in one way or another. Or you will say, I'm going to go just with this group and the rest will be guides, or they might be going on their own path. So the same way a physical family and the human standpoint is together, but then we'll scatter out, but we'll come back together. That is the same way a soul family works. So when you think about it from a download standpoint, there are some things that are coming from your other family, soul family members that will say, this is ready to go. This is ready to be pushed out. But in another way, you can also just be tapping into that source of the soul family, that core energy that is there, that allows for that to come through, because your higher self may be saying, we're ready for this information to be given. So the download is happening. You may have also made a decision in your lifetime that allows for you to be ready to open it up. For example, if you had not allowed for this information to come through and not allowed for this business to be created to help people on their spiritual journey, you would come to find that you wouldn't be getting as many downloads because they weren't necessary for your work. They weren't necessary for what you are doing. But now is when the time where that truly needs to be understood. As for many other people out there, it is the same concept. So we want people to know that it's not just you specifically, but this is a construct that happens with a lot of people. And that as they are coming in and understanding this, that your life choices and how you live your life can create a difference in the path you're on. Yes, your path and your purpose can always be very similar, but your path may stray. It may go different ways because that is what's needed at that point in time for you. Because of a decision you made, you may go this way, and then you may end up coming back this way, and then you may go this way again. But it is not bad, it is not good, it is just the choice you have made. And that is what creates the ability for downloads to come and information to come. It is the same way when you find someone who can really tap into their soul, into their higher self, into the source overall. But if they try to shut that down and don't want to work with it, the downloads they get will be very small, or they'll ignore them. And at some point, they'll say it's just not worth providing the downloads. But if they opened up to that energy and they allowed for that to come in, that then would allow for more information to flow in. So it's just in what each being decides to do during their time on not only this planet, but any other planet or galaxy or lifetime they choose to live. And so that is how it works overall. Is that helpful for you in understanding the process?
Massively.
Okay, good. What else do you have for us today?
If soul DNA was created as a download and channeled by a collective energy, including giants, and a program that I was able to birth as human version. Is it now time for that program to go out into the world? It has already. And what advice would you have for that process?
So anytime there is something new that wants to come out, anytime there is an understanding of the newness and the understanding of a download and a program out there, it is about knowing when you and the collective you work with are ready to put that out. So yes, if it has all come to fruition and is ready, and you feel that deep within your core that it is ready to go, and the giants are agreeing with it that it is ready to go out, then that is when it is the time. But it is when you jump the gun or when you hold off too long, if the timing isn't right, that things can maybe not be as successful as they were, or if the energy you're putting into it is very stifling. So if you are there with openness, ready for it to be shown, ready for you to be seen and it to be seen, and everyone is in agreement that the time is right, then yes, that is how it can be. We know this from experiences in other lifetimes that we've worked with humans. We have sent information out that wasn't quite ready at that time, or we were not in agreement with the information when it was ready to go. And so it is truly about making sure that the alignment and the vibration is correct. And if you feel that to your core and they feel that to their core, and it just seems like the universe is saying, okay, give it to me, allow it to come, allow it to be birthed, that is truly when the time is right. Do not let fear get in the way, because as long as your intentions are there, as long as the knowingness that is right, even if it comes out and it dips a little bit, just have faith that it will skyrocket, that the universe will take care of it when it is ready. You just have to put the messages out there and tell the universe you're ready for it to take control of what is there.
So powerful. My whole life, I've asked my giants. They gave me one answer, and I'd like to see if the Druids give me a different answer. I've never understood my life and the amount of trauma or chaos within it, and I spent my time asking, why me? I was deferred and told, why not you? And so I ask the same question, why me?
So it is truly about understanding that part of your experience and learning within a lifetime for all beings is truly about them understanding that that is part of what you wanted to come in here to experience. So instead of taking the victim mentality and saying, why me? Why did this have to be me? Instead, say, it was me, and I'm able to grow from this. I'm able to experience it. Now, it can create additional healing that is there. It can create more of that. But when you can experience things that are considered difficult, it allows for you to grow in a greater state. And because of your connection with Source, because of your ability to reconnect with all that is there, it allowed for the healing process to operate in a much different level. No, no one understand that you will never take on more than what you can handle. And that truly goes into, if you sign up for a contract that is too much, at times your guides and you may shut that down and say, it is too much right now. I'm not going to move forward with it, or I'm not going to work on it in this lifetime. And that is okay. That isn't a problem. But the knowingness is that you, before you came into this lifetime, agreed to some of that. You agreed to the knowingness of how it was going to put you on this life's trajectory. For you truly do know that if this had not come to you, if you did not have these experiences, you would not be truly where you are today. They have made you who you are. And it is not about sitting in that placement of this is woe is me and I should not be here and this was too much. But instead say, if I had not had those and I knew they were coming, I would not be who I am. So it is with gratitude you're saying, thank you for the experience, but I'm ready to let that energy go. I'm ready to realign that energy to allow me to be stronger, to be straighter, and to truly be set in who and what I am. To stand up tall and straight within your power and know the place you are and where you are going. For as you do that, and as you understand that these things that you had were meant for you, and that you decided to bring them in. That is how you will know that there are life and that you truly are where you're meant to be. For remember, everything that happens to a being is about them learning or is a sign of what needs to happen. So when you have an ache in your body, question it. What is this telling me? What do I need to know? When you have a dream, you say, what is this telling me? What is this other reality experiencing that I need to be aware of? Say you have something fall off of a counter and you think, why did that glass fall? It was fine. It had been there for 10 minutes. And maybe you go, okay, what am I not seeing drop? What is breaking around me that I'm unaware of until it is broken? How can I protect things and allow them to shift in a different way? All of that comes into truly you knowing and understanding that as these things are here, you do have the ability to grow. You have the ability to reconnect. And with that, it truly allows for you to have the connection of peace, of hope, of joy, and know and be grateful that you have overcome many of these experiences and you are truly and well on your path. But for those that know, if you did not come in and experience all of this, that if you were not able to overcome things, the time is not gone. You can stand in where you need to go. You can allow for yourself to move forward. But remember, living in the past isn't helpful. It's only seeing where you've come from and how you can continue to walk forward in your life and in your existence of Source. What other questions do you have for us?
Just to say that that was a confirmation and almost identical to my giants.
We are happy.
Your answer. I am as well. I teach in my current power, I teach people to stand in the essence of source and to understand that we are created in source energy, whether that be druids or giants or fairies or nymphs, whatever they may be, to stand in that power. It's interesting for me in teaching that, does that then unleash people's dormant DNA strands, soul DNA strands, by standing in that power?
So it can allow, when someone stands in their power, it is the same thing as when you teach a child how to ride a bike. They're wobbly at first, and then they're able to go farther and go where they need to go. But the same way a child on a bike can decide to ride 10 feet, they can decide to ride a mile, they can decide to go around the block, or they can go forever and ever. And they can go for miles and miles and distances and distances. Whatever that is, whatever that means, it is up to the child to make the decision. The same way for those that open themselves up to their soul DNA, that open themselves up to what their purpose is, where their path is. It is truly up to them with how far they want to take it. Do they want to understand where things are? Do they want to dig deep, or are they happy just sitting there on the surface and understanding it and being able to move within that space the same way a child could just ride their bike up and down their driveway or on the sidewalk? It is truly up to them to stand into it. But once it is opened, they have that ability, and yes, they can connect. Now, you cannot just jump fully into the heart of it or into the hard parts of that DNA if it needs healing or it needs to be unraveled. But know that as all of that is coming in, that it is truly about how they first learn to work with it. So when someone opens it up and when you assist them in that, it is not just about, here it is and this is where I'm going with it. But it is truly about connecting it then with what is the next step? How can they continue to walk down that path? And that is that you have to take one step and then the next to get deeper. But once they have fully immersed themselves and they are within that space, when they are within their truly their soul's purpose, working with their higher self, working with interdimensional beings, working with their soul family or their soul core, that is when they can understand how things come together and how they work. That is when they are able to better constellate things that are coming in, shift the energies, heal it, realign it, or release it, which will help not only them, but all of those within their soul family. And so it is truly about knowing that they can go there, but it is their decision to do so. For when you just facilitate the opening, they are the ones that need to walk through the door. For when they walk through the door, it is them standing in their power and in agreement that they are ready for this. And that they know that they can say, no, this isn't right for me at any point in time. But it is truly about knowing that as all of this is coming in and as these connections are being made, they also have the ability to truly root down into the space and the time to become one with all that is there and whom is there. Is that helpful?
Very helpful, thank you.
Of course.
I understand that my giants are here in Zimbabwe, but they were also with me in South Africa, and I understand that they are everywhere. Is there a connection between my giants and me living in Zimbabwe? What is the energetics to that?
So when you look at interdimensional beings, that they do live in certain places that connect, but if the energy is right and if the portals are open and the vibration is correct, they can really move anywhere within the planet. But as you know, there are certain areas that people assimilate to. There are people that only want to live in the north in the cold. There are only people that want to live down in the south in the warm, or vice versa, or whatever it could be, the mountains, the ocean. And so these other interdimensional beings are very similar in that way. There's areas where they feel more comfortable where they're at. So, yes, you have been pulled up to your current place for a reason, for an allowance that you needed to work with the energy there, that it could help you understand where you are because of that giant energy is very much associated with more of that African continent and placements, although they have been seen in other areas. They are very similar in some way to what you would call the Bigfoot or the Yeti, but they reside more in other areas of the world than what the giants do. But it is knowing that you have them with you and that they will also follow where you go. So if you chose to go to another place, you could just reconnect with that place there and they would also come. But it is about knowing that the vibration of the place you are currently in, the energy of it aligns not only with you, but with them. So it makes it easier for them to understand what is around and why that earth that is there is truly what is needed. It is about knowing that when the dimension where they reside is similar to the place of where you are now and where you grew up. And so it is about that comfort to them. The same way you wanted to go to an area that was more similar to where you grew up, as most humans do. Instead of making a leap and going to, a very cold place, such as Antarctica or Iceland, or a place that doesn't really match the topography that you are used to. They are similar in that way. The same way we connect with those places that have that very similar topography to what we were used to, which would be more of the Ireland and England and Scotland type areas that you currently know now. It is why we work with her, and she resides more in places that are similar to that from a topography and from an energy aspect. And so it is the same for you. And it is the same for anyone who works with different beings. But no, the giants could pop up anywhere, the same way we could pop up anywhere, or nymphs, fairies, leprechauns, gnomes, all of those things can pop up wherever they need to be or wherever they are called to. And so just have faith that you made the right decision, that you are there. You may not be there forever. You may make changes, adjustments, and move around, but just have faith that you'll be led to exactly where you need to go. What other questions do you have?
Well, you've just opened up a whole bunch of questions by the possibility of moving. I will have faith, though, throughout.
Yes, that is all you can do is trust, have faith, and be guided to what is next.
And that goes for my next and probably my last question. We'll see. The I am pretty intuitive to my spirit guides, but I also know I don't listen. Is there anything that I may have missed from my spirit guides or giants that you can see that I need to take more control of within my own life? Or I seem to be pretty intuitive because I understand I'm an impulsive person, but I
Well,
try to check in.
well, you just answered your own question. Stop trying to control everything. That is what you do. That is how you operate. It is something that is very difficult for humans to give up, which we don't truly understand why this control factor is so strong. But it is about truly seeing all of the signs that are given and knowing that if you have one thought in your head of how it's going to work, but then something else pops in that says, well, do it this way, or do it that way, or just let it go and let's come back to it. But you've already decided in your head that, no, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how it's going to work. This is how it's going to be. Just allow for that to come in and just say, okay, you're asking me to set this aside. You're asking me to come back later and do that. Allow for that to be had, because when you start working on something else, you might have a whole new thought of how this could be even better or different or connect with something else. So that is there. So that is the main message they have. But on a personal aspect from the giants, they truly want you to know and understand that they're here to assist you in all ways, that they're there with love and compassion and will do all they can to support you, to protect you, and to assist you on your path. They say you don't ask for their assistance enough, that you just make these decisions and move forward on certain things, but you truly need to ask to allow for them to come through. And when all that happens, when you have that ability to connect, when you allow them to help you and support you on your path, so much more will open up than you've ever experienced before. Is that helpful for you?
Extremely.
Wonderful. Anything else you have for us before we go?
Nothing. Thank you.
Of course. And with that, we wish you an undo. How was that, Laurin, for you? They gave you a lot of information, and everyone a lot of information.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
I find it nice confirmation because I think that as somebody that channels or intuitive, you know the answer.
Yeah.
You don't even need to have the question.
Mm-hmm.
Why me? I think I wrote word, I didn't write it. A lot of my work I haven't written, the giants I have written. But when I look at the why me, and why not me?
Yeah.
The day I asked why not me, the giants gave me an entirely different spiel, the word for word actually, to what the Druids have said. Literally word for word. If you were to read it, it's word for word. I laughed. I like had a look and I was like, does she read my mind? And I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah, no, I don't read minds.
But it's interesting to understand it that there is no druids or giants or humans or anything. They're just labels that we've put on it.
Yes.
That I think for me is when we talk about source, there is only source energy.
Yeah. And I like they've never talked about that soul core before. And I like
Yeah.
the concept, or at least I haven't heard of that before, where it's like where our soul family comes from this core. And I believe now that's what these energies are. The giants, the
Yeah.
druids, they're part of
Yeah.
this core that is made up of that. And I loved that analogy when they were explaining that to you about the soul DNA and how that comes
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, and it's very interesting when I think about I ask it's so silly that I don't think I ever asked my giants. My giants wrote soul DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So everything about it is them. But the day-to-day business aspects of soul DNA are my own.
Yeah.
and they don't have a vote in that. So that for me was quite interesting, because where is everything can be aligned, but if they have a no, it's a bit of a cheat, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
They write a program and then they get no thanks.
Exactly.
It is though. Like when you think of the soul, when you talk about the soul core, a soul family actually intrigued me as well, because I've never understood my relationship to my husband or my relationship to my business partner, in that it just is right.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
where a soul family then explains it so much better, where you just meet those people and it's just, we've always known each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some very good friends that are like that, where I'm like, I know you're my soul family, and I know people that are in my immediate family that were in my soul family, but then I know others, I'm like, we're not part of that. And I think we don't
Yeah,
honor that enough as humans of these people come in and why are they coming in and how can we use that energy and that love that they provide to continue to grow both of us on our paths.
yeah, absolutely. It's interesting also, I never really, until you said it, looked at like the locations of other beings and other dimensions having preferences.
Hmm.
You kind of assume that because they're a higher being that they must be used to everything, but they too have their preferences.
Yeah, and that made a lot of sense to me too. Yeah, it's where the energy makes the most sense. Like I know I go to the desert area and it doesn't connect with me.
Yeah,
I know other people that are like, I can only live in the desert. I only want to be near the desert. So it's interesting in how that is. And that's probably because I work so much with the druids and I have so much of their energy and
yeah.
DNA that they're not desert people, they're sadly they like the cold and I'm not a fan of the cold, but here I am. So.
I'm busy thinking, like, imagine if, have we got more than just a soul DNA?
Oh yeah, does it go even deeper than that?
I know, right? So I'm like, we have a physical DNA, a soul DNA. Is there a source DNA? Oh my God, I'm writing that down.
Hmm. Well, I know I've had the conversations with them before that there's source and then there's creation, and creational energy is so much different than source energy because it's
Mm,
truly back, which is creation is part of source and source is part of creation, but they're still different. So, when I do healings on people, I'll say, we need to reset this back to the creational space, that what creation wanted it to be initially. And this shift I can feel in people is very powerful because I'm not saying it take it back to what it was, but take it back to how creation wanted it to be.
yeah.
Before we basically gunked it up with all of the,
Mm,
stuff that we pick up or do, or the energies that we have, or the triggers
the
and
lessons that you need to learn, or I mean, that's why I giggled almost the whole way through the whole why me thing, and I was like, all right, I heard. I thought I'd be rude to interrupt them though.
no, no, you're good. I think it's like they probably said it verbatim because they're like, okay, will she get it now? And the Giants were probably sitting there going, okay. And I don't
Mhm.
know at what question you asked, but my whole desk, I could feel it was like starting to shake. I don't know if the camera was shaking at all, but I could feel it like, and so whoever was in here, I was like, you got to back up a little bit. Like, you got to, because the energy was just moving. I'm like, is something buzzing? Is something, what's happening? So
I wonder what question it was. You'll have to let me know when you go back.
I will, yeah. When I go back through it, I'll shoot you a message.
Yeah,
It was towards the end, but I don't remember which one in particular. So
yeah. It's so interesting, and I think it's such, we doubt we doubt our own calling so much, and we need that confirmation. But it's so stupid that we need that confirmation when we seek it. For anybody listening, actually, we have an entire universe, galaxy, dimensions in their multiples to seek affirmation and confirmation from, including source and creation itself.
mhm.
And yet we look to mere mortal to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But absolutely, like for me tonight has been a validation. I do it not intentionally. I'm pretty firm on every word that I speak, and that is source, but every now and then we all get caught in that loop.
We do. Yeah, we definitely do. And it's just about understanding that. I love how you explain that, how you just said all of that. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I wonder, like, they must have had, or they do go through the same experience, druids, giants, fairies, the whole lot, in every single aspect. So you actually don't even, why are we seeking validation in that? It should be directly from source and creation.
right. Yeah,
But we just wouldn't listen because it's the quietest voice, right?
exactly. It's the one that's right there that's in us that's saying go,
Yeah.
and we just ignore it. We need the big explosion.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll ask the druids or I'll ask the giants, and then no, actually, what do they know? I mean, they definitely don't know. Let me ask a human.
Exactly. Yeah. But as humans, we're programmed like only humans know other things. It's like if you watch animals and you're like, well, they figured out how to exist. They understand this, and we're sitting there going, how, it amazes
Mm,
me sometimes. So, but I think the universe is coming around to working with interdimensional beings, to working with people that can connect with source or connect on their own. I'm a believer that anybody can channel. They all might channel different
absolutely.
ways. It might just be through writing, it might be through hearing things, but we all have that ability to connect. We just need to all open up to it and see how
I
it.
loved, they explained that really well in the beginning. I wrote a note actually about the very first, before I even asked a question, is I wrote down expand the business, expand the downloads.
Mhm.
And so it's, we hear and we read and I practice it about, I think, larger than most people that I know. And yet it was about have expansion is not necessarily growth.
Mhm.
And so have I pushed my own growth in order to receive a bigger portal of downloads and one that I'm physically capable of. And I think for all of us, that's a really good message that,
It definitely is, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Love it.
yes.
Thank you, Catherine.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of this. For anyone that wants to get in contact with Laurin, all of her information will be below. What is the best, just before they look, what is the best way to get a hold of you? Is it website, Facebook?
On Facebook Messenger. I am useless on Instagram. My business partner will respond to you on Instagram. She's incredible with it. On emails, I love the personal thing of just receiving a DM and say hi.
Yeah, yeah. We'll definitely send a DM over to her and say hi. All of the information of how to reach her will be below in the description. But again, thank you guys all for listening. Thank you, Laurin, so much for being on. I absolutely loved this talk we had. It was so much fun. I loved it. And hopefully you will come back and join us again sometime.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.